Hey guys, let me tell you about our sponsor real quick, which is Wix.com. It's the best place to build a professional website. And if you use the promo code POTP, you get 10% off any of their premium plans. So go to Wix.com. You know you need a website. You know it's going to help you out. Go over there. It's the easiest place to build one. Promo code POTP for 10% off any premium plan. What you have on the left is, well, number one, there's the left-wing bully mob, which everybody knows. You know, there's been so much written and discussed about this issue, but the idea that you're kind of like, if you really take most Democrat voters, people who self-identify as liberals or left-leaning or leftists even, the vast majority of them don't actually believe in their heart of hearts that there's no such thing as gender, or that, like, you know, a man should be able to have some hormone, treatment and then go fist fight women or compete in deadlifting competitions with women, or that, most of them don't believe the nuttiest shit about the left. Just about none of them will say this publicly because they're all playing to the mob that will get very angry if we say that. So that's one factor in the Democrat debate. It's like none of them want to get beat up by the mob. So they're all a little bit concerned about that. But then on top of that, it's also like, the people who want to see Trump lynched in the streets are your most enthusiastic voters. So you don't want to turn off your most enthusiastic voters. Like, those are the people you need. These are the people who are going to fundraise, make phone calls, fucking, volunteer for you. That's who you need. So you don't want to alienate them, but at the same, and you have to seem like the most anti-Trump person in the room, but then you have to deal with the fact that while you're talking about all this, you're not talking about any kitchen table issues that people really care about. And that, I just think, while there are a lot of Americans who don't really care about the Trump-Russia story, I think, and maybe my perspective is a little bit skewed because I'm a person who's like obsessed with all this political stuff, and that is not the average person in this country. They got more important shit to obsess over. But I kind of I feel like it's going to be hard. They went so all in on Trump-Russia collusion. I just think it's going to be really hard for them to pretend that didn't happen. To pretend that we didn't sell you on something that turned out to be completely wrong. Maybe not. But I really do. I got to say, I think Trump was right. I think the Democrats hurt themselves a lot in the 2020 election with this stuff. They would have been way better off to focus on reality and what Donald Trump is actually doing. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the bad and the ugly, which is that it looks like this. There's been another budget passed by the Senate.
Well, at least they're budgeting. That's good. If you want to make sure that you have enough money, you set a budget. You
Rob, you don't understand. That's not how a government budget works at all. It's actually quite the opposite of what the term budget is supposed to mean.
Oh, I didn't understand this. Please explain.
It's more like steal from your children and grandchildren, print a shitload of money, and pretend there's no problems.
But I guess at least if you do it within a budget and you stick to that number, maybe you can at least wrap your head around the fact that you're being fiscally responsible.
Well, see, not exactly. We don't always stick to the number, and then we go over budget, and then we have to make up the money. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Wait, then is that still a budget?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's a budget. It says budget right there on the head of the budget.
But if you have a budget and it's more than what you can afford and you say that's the max, how do you go above that?
Well, there's no problem because we have a debt limit.
Oh, okay. So at least there's a fail-safe here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Good.
Debt limit. Can't go above the debt limit.
That sounds promising, so we probably stick to that, right?
Well, there is one little problem with the debt limit, is that we hit it every year and then we raise it.
So they don't know that either?
Well, no. I mean, there's another debt limit. We just raised the debt limit.
Doesn't that void having the limit?
No, it's just a new limit.
It's a new limit. So it's a new budget and a new limit.
Yeah.
All right, so at least it sounds like they got it together, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure this time it's going to be serious. They're going to stick with this one. I don't see them raising it again. I'd be shocked.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. No, we're on solid ground. No, we're all fucked. But there's so Donald Trump when he signed the last omnibus spending bill that blew up, which I it really is. There was an article out. I forget what publication it was on, but that said this really represents the death of the Tea Party, which to me the whole Tea Party thing, I mean, was it inserted.
I didn't get any tea.
No, you didn't. I don't think the Tea Party is about getting tea. I think it was throwing tea off a boat. That was the original one. Anyway, I never thought it really served its purpose. I mean, in terms of, if you want to say any of these movements, whether it's Occupy Wall Street or the Tea Party, any of these kind of protest movements, politically they all failed. They were all failures politically. I mean, the Democrats like to pretend that the Tea Party took over, and that's why the Republicans are so extreme, but none of that really happened. Their only success was maybe in entering the consciousness of the American people that it's like, hey, this is an issue that's really important. Because if you look at the Tea Party had a pretty straightforward message, and that message was that debt's out of control, government spending's out of control. And look at both of those things. They're way more out of control than they were when the Tea Party was around. This was in 2010. We've had almost a decade since that movement, and nothing. It's all just gotten much worse. And same with Occupy. Occupy Wall Street's message, which I thought was not quite as clear, but their message was more or less that the banker bailouts were really, unfair, that there was a ton of corruption and greed on Wall Street. And, there certainly is some truth to all of that. And all of it's worse now than it was then. The bankers got their bailouts, people kept their bonuses, and their profits are higher than ever. So they've done quite well. But the debt thing, it did seem to get, a little bit of attention, and it was a little bit sexy around 2010, 2011, 2012. And all of that seems to have gone away. And of course, I think, I got to say, I do think a lot of that is just that when it's a Republican spending, you just don't get as much outrage about the Republicans are supposed to be the small government ones. So when it's Barack Hussein Obama, it's real easy to get furious about this government spending. When it's Trump, we're just winning or whatever, But this is a real disaster. And the fact that we're spending, $4 trillion a year, we're running $1 trillion deficits, and their answer is to increase the spending and the deficits. And this is during a supposed time of full employment. I mean, this is just, it's really actually the more, if you have any understanding of economics, it's just downright scary what we're fucking doing right now. This is going to end very badly. And Donald Trump made a big thing after he signed the last omnibus spending bill that he was like, I didn't like this bill, but I signed it, but I won't sign another one like this. And we'll see, but I bet he's going to sign it again. We're going into an election year. He doesn't have time to start thinking about, that not getting a budget done, and he doesn't have time to start, thinking about making cuts that might actually have some short-term pain in order to save us in the future. And there is something here that really does represent the death, of any hope of not just going full stop ahead. And I gotta say, there's so many other issues that pale in comparison to government spending. I mean, look, I'd like the most evil things that the state does to me are always the most important things to end. Like, I just don't want to fucking, I don't want to bomb third world countries. I don't want to throw people in cages unless we absolutely have to. There's a lot of stuff like that. But government spending is what it all comes down to, and this is, if you don't tackle that, you're not doing anything, man. You're not doing anything. This is what it's all about. The fact that this is like, it's not a coincidence that nations that collapse almost always collapse in a mountain of debt. That's not a coincidence. And it's just, Donald Trump doesn't have the stones, and he doesn't have the political capital to do anything about it. So it's, if you're Donald Trump, and this is what's so terrible about the game of politics, but he's right now, it's like, the Mueller thing didn't work. He's at record high approval ratings right now. Donald Trump is coming in. The Democrats are looking crazier and crazier. If you're him, you got to win this election. And you're not going to rock the boat right now. You're going to fucking go, okay, I'll pass your dumb spending bill. Let's go. Kick the can down to the next president, just like everybody else does. Just like everybody else does. So it's pretty upsetting and disappointing. And yeah, man, it's these what do they say? These chickens will come home to roost. Is that the saying? Did I get that right? Roosters will come home to nest. The cluckers will come home to chick. I don't know.
Those all sound good to me, man.
These bitches are coming home, is what I'm trying to say. And it's going to be when this finally does all come crashing down, and I'm not like predicting an apocalypse or something, but when we actually start feeling the pain of this, I think people are going to start realizing that. I know it's boring, and you can call libertarians these like autistic nerds who cared about the fucking debt when no one else was interested in it. You're going to get it. You're going to see that this is going to be a real problem, and it turns out that while we were spending all of this time talking about Trump-Russia collusion or transgender bathrooms or offensive tweets or all this other nonsense, the thing that really mattered, that nobody wanted to take on in a serious way, was that the country's bankrupt. The government's bankrupt. We've put, it's not even the future generations. We've put this generation on the hook for something that they can't possibly ever pay back, and that's got to be rectified somehow.
And then